little stick of candy, and they would usually have a big stick of candy. We'd have get a stick of candy just about, I guess about 2 inches and about a foot or more long, and that'd be sticking in the top of our stocking. And that's the way our Christmas was. And Santa Claus would bring, come down the chimney, I guess, and bring us our gifts for Christmas.
It was a good old days. But it was a good old days.
Okay, Rita or Janice, y'all want to say what it was like when we were growing up?
I want to hear what Martha had to say. Let's see what Martha's got to say. Martha, I'm getting too old to remember.
She said she was getting too old to remember. We can talk.
Our daddy's,
Mama's gonna talk, okay?
we'd hang up our daddy's stocking, because, the sock rather, because Daddy had a great big foot and it was a long sock. And it was filled with nuts and candy. And after we was old enough they put some sparklers in it. And when we was a little bit older, some firecrackers. And we would, Mama would go in the kitchen to start breakfast, be making biscuits, and we'd run around to the kitchen window and light a firecracker. And when we'd come back in the house, oh, she shook just like we scared her, you know. And I remember one time one of my dolls had sat on it, and I could just see Santa Claus coming down the chimney, and it got that set on my doll. And we didn't have it for a lot of gifts. We was just appreciated anything we got. Like I said, that stocking was really something, some candy and fruits and nuts. And we got together as a family just like we did today and enjoyed and being happy with each other.
You want to go next?
I'll let you go. I'll let you tell what it was like when we were growing up.
Oh, I want to tell you this. Kevin says, Mama, you never did buy us a stocking. He thought I should have brought these pretty stockings like y'all do now. But we just use socks for my children too. Vernon socks.
Yeah, I wish CJ was here. I'm gonna put her aside. We need the next generation.
What you think?
William, you wanna talk about yours? Who wants
He didn't get nothing cold.
who wants to do the next generation?
He's the mean, he don't want to tell about it.
Yes.
I think what Mama told on me one time.
Stand up and talk to everybody.
She said she bought me a little red wagon. Said she's all up in the air about it. Said, I didn't pay no attention to the little red wagon. I picked up 2 large cans, the middle large cans, and went off playing with them.
You gonna tell about ours?
Well, like Mother said, we just had our regular socks too. And our stockings would be filled up with oranges and nuts, and I won't say what they were called.
Nigger toes. They were Brazil nuts, but we were bad and called them nigger toes.
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
We would go out every Christmas to the woods to the Carter property. Daddy would take us and we would go pick out our own Christmas tree. And take some time considering which one did we want, bring it back and decorate it.
Who chopped it down?
Daddy did.
Susan, why don't you tell stories?
And just a little bit about church. I went to the Christmas cantata today, and that brought back memories. We would go to the Methodist church every year, and they had the Christmas cantata at night, where they had beautiful music with the choirs.
Talk a little louder.
And they had gifts for the children underneath the Christmas tree. And that was a really nice memory with the candles lit and listening to music. I remember all the really good food like we had today. Mama's dressing that she brought today. And as we got older, we started a tradition. We had barbecue pork. We made it a little bit easier for us. Do you remember that? We started doing barbecue pork on Christmas Eve.
We made a stew, made
Yeah.
Brunswick
We had
stew, like I call Brunswick stew.
Brunswick stew. We had around 25 of us all around in the family in the living room with little kids running around and opening up presents. Anyway, sharing stories, and it was really nice. Nice memories like
Janice,
today.
did you ever have a doll named Susie?
Yeah, I can tell that story.
Yeah.
Actually, Mother was pregnant, and for Christmas, the year before, or the spring before Susan was born, they gave me it was called a Susie walking doll, and it was about this tall and had long brown hair, and you would walk its arms like, you know, like this, and it would walk, and its eyes blinked, and it was the most beautiful doll. And Susan was my favorite name, so I named the doll Susan. And then whenever Susan was born, they ended up naming Susan after the doll. That's all I can do.
Usually you name the doll after.
So you got to pick your sister's name.
I remember that doll. I loved that one.
I remember that doll too, now that you've reminded me.
Yeah, it was
Can you
awesome.
share something about your Christmas growing up?
What, me?
Yeah.
I remember all of us getting together at Mama and Papa's and having a great time. We had a really good time.
We used to do something at Mama and Papa's house. Pat and I were talking at my grandparents' house, our grandparents' house. They had pocket doors, so we'd put the doors inside the walls, and all of us kids would get together and come up with a little show that we wanted to do. We'd close the pocket doors and figure out what we wanted to do, and the adults would be in the other room, and then we'd open those pocket doors, and I just thought that was the most magical thing, to be able to put doors in a wall.
And they're still there.
Open them up. Yeah, it was such a production, so that was nice.
They saved the pocket
We
doors in that.
performed like they do.
Yeah.
I remember Jerry used to tell funny stories.
For any of you who have not been in that house where our grandfather and grandmother lived, our grandfather built the house, and of course Ruth and my mother Therese and Grace and Martha pretty much grew up there in that house, and it is a beautiful house. I always wanted it, but fortunately my first cousin Doug Legg on my father's side actually bought the house and has fixed it up. So any of you who would like to, any of you younger children who would like to see where your great grandparents lived, I'm sure they would be glad for you to come in there and look at it.
I haven't seen it yet
I'd
either.
like to see it.
Of course, they have changed. They